Welcome to the Industry Experts Panel at PortfolioWealthGlobal.com. My name is Michelle Holliday. Today, we are all excited for this interview because we are welcoming back to the show the amazing Mr. Gerald Celente, the founder of Trends Journal Institute at TrendsJournal.com. Gerald is famous as an economic trends forecaster whose predictions have been shockingly accurate over the past 3 decades. Today, we are going to be talking about the coronavirus, the economy, and everything that is actually happening behind the scenes around the world. Mr. Celente is a man of fearless truth, and this is going to be an amazing interview. Gerald, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me on, Michelle.
We are so excited for this. We want to start off, of course, with the coronavirus. The last time you were on this show was back in September, and you were warning us then that we were on the edge of an economic catastrophe and that all it would take would be some random feather to push us over the edge. So right now, we have to begin with COVID-19. Gerald, you are a student of history. Is there any comparison between the coronavirus in terms of economics, political division, and other categories with previous times of crisis in American history that you can compare this to?
No, what's going on is unprecedented around the world. We have a total lockdown like this, over 4 billion people. But history is repeating itself, Michelle. You go back to the 1930s, you had a currency war. Oh, and then you had a trade war. The name of that country, Japan. Oh, then you had a Great Depression. Then you had a world war. History is repeating itself. Currency wars, trade wars. We are in the beginning of the greatest depression. And when all else fails, they take you to war. So that's where we're looking at history and making this unprecedented, because this will also be the war when they asked Albert Einstein, a cat that knew a little bit about the atomic bomb, what kind of weapons will they be using to fight the Third World War? He said, I don't know. He said, they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. Before this COVID paranoia pandemic started, our 2020 top trends, among them was the New World Disorder. There were riots and protests going on in France, Hong Kong, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Lebanon, Algeria, South Africa, all over the world. All over the world, these protests were going on. People taking to the streets, riots, demonstrations. They were fighting against lack of basic income, corruption, violence, crime. That was before this happened. Now, those same people are out of work. History is repeating itself. March to Mussolini, salute Stalin, Heil Hitler, bow to Newsom, suck up to Cuomo. Follow Sanchez over there in Spain. How about Merkel? And that little boy over there, the Prime Minister of Italy, Conte. One freak after another, and you look at the freaks that led us before, whether it's Mussolini, Hitler, Stalin, and you see the same ugly, psychopathic, sociopathic, pathological liars that are ruling us today.
Now, Gerald, in your report, you've mentioned many times that this is a plandemic, something that is a hoax that's been foisted upon us. You've also talked about the effect of the coronavirus upon poor people. And this is something I rarely see discussed. Poor people are the people that are not on the internet. They're trying to survive. They're not debating this back and forth. Should we continue this lockdown? Should we let everyone back to work? And so on and so forth. And we've had about 50,000 deaths so far from COVID-19. We've also had medical personnel reporting that they are being told to attribute any death possible to this coronavirus. And so the staggering effect upon millions of poor people who will never probably make it back to at least the sense of security that they had once before. But those are the people that are really not being discussed, and I'd like you to go into that for us a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we have the numbers in the Trends Journal. You know, you're looking at hundreds of thousands that are going to die from this, just in the United States. When you look at the poverty rates and how many people die each year from poverty in the States, now you could, put 10 times on that amount. And it's going to keep spreading, so the base gets bigger. And this is global. And it just as we're talking about poverty, look at the homeless population. There you are out there in California. You got a big homeless problem, don't you? Hey, how come they're not all in the hospital? How come they're not filling up the hospital dying from the COVID-19? If it was so deadly, these would be the first to go. How come they're not packed? There's hundreds of thousands of homeless people around the country. That number should be way up there. So yeah, this is going to affect not only the poverty, this is going to, again, that poverty base is going to expand dramatically. And what we're saying is that the hoax is that they're robbing us of our freedom, our liberty, joy, beauty, not allowed. And they're robbing us of our constitutional rights. My good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano on Fox, he's a judge, Supreme Court judge out of Jersey at one time. And he comes up here to Kingston to visit me a couple of times a year. We used to be able to go to this wonderful French restaurant. That's not allowed anymore. It's all closed down. And he was talking about how these governors give themselves executive powers, and mayors and others. And you have these other little low-life slime balls under them, the other politicians, that approve it with legislation. He said, that's not legal. That's robbing us of our constitutional rights. They can't do this. Where are the protests? Where are the fights? Michelle, we're going into the greatest depression. This is just as these ignorant politicians, and you look at the cover of our last week's Trends Journal, dumb enough to believe Bush's wars, dumb enough to believe the COVID war. And Anthony Friedauer, one of our artists, a great guy, he put a picture of Bush that looks like Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. The people believe this lying, stupid piece of criminal crap. And now they're promoting Bush again in the media 5 days after we came out with that cover. How wonderful he is and how we all should be working together to fight the pandemic. So what I'm saying to you is that just as these politicians get us into wars with no exit strategies, they have no clue on the exit strategy to this. Look at that little piece of garbage you got over there, Gruesome Newsom. You think he's worried about earning a living? You think all these other politicians are worried about earning a living? They steal our money in the name of taxes. They don't have to worry about health care, retirement, paying their rent, mortgages. They steal our money to do so. And it's all one club, like that little clown you got there and the one we got over here and around the country. And we're not in it. So they don't care about us. They're power-hungry freaks that are robbing us of our freedom, liberty, love, and joy and beauty. And they're destroying this country as other countries around the world. This will not be a V-shaped recovery. It won't be a U-shaped recovery. It'll be one of these as it keeps going down.
Wow. I just spoke with G. Edward Griffin a couple of weeks ago, and what he was talking about was he felt that they were going to find excuses to continue this lockdown and to find other excuses to continue other lockdowns. We have the murder hornets. Have you heard of these? The murder hornets that are coming. We have murder hornets on the way. We have, you stay in your house. We have the rise of the pandemic one more time in the fall. It's just an extraordinary thing, and I'm just wondering what is going on. Is this a test, Gerald, just to see if everyone will stay in their house?
No, it's a power grab. Again, one of our other covers of the Trends Journal 3 weeks ago. Remember the tank man, the guy that stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square way back when? Well, we call it Tank Point 2.0. And we have the tanks lined up with the 3 tanks Frida did, and COVID was one of them, with the tank mans. And our caption was, "The Chinese way, you must obey." And that's what we've become. You must obey. And look at these little low-life bullies, the kind of guys I hated in high school and grammar school and college. I was a little guy, I still am. So the bullies wanted to pick on me. That's who these little cops are, and I'm a fighter. I had my own close combat school for a lot of years. But these little boys beating up people for not social distancing and throwing people in jail for running a little business here and there. Little tough boys. That's where we're going. We become the police state. They're tracking us now, contact surveillancing us now. It's a takeover by the freaks. Again, march off to Mussolini. As an Italian, I'm ashamed of the Italians. They were the first ones to bend to this COVID paranoia.
How so, Gerald?
They closed down the whole place. That little boy Conte's not even elected. He's the prime minister. And here are the facts, Michelle. The facts. The hard facts. Do you know what the average age of the people who died in Italy is? 80 years old. That's right. You can even look it up in the New York Times, the toilet paper record. May 3rd. Look it up. Italy, COVID-19, average age 80 years old. And we've been writing about this for months. The Italians were the first ones to close down, and everybody followed. What are you looking at now? We're in the 300,000 range, dead in the world? Out of a population of 7.7 billion? Oh, Michelle, don't worry about all that poison they're putting in the water all the time that's killing people. Hey, look at that piece of crap, other Nobel piece of crap prize winner Obama. Yeah, he didn't fix the water in Flint, Michigan. Yeah, and it's still going on. And all the poisons that they're putting in. You like those GMOs? No, I know. You like those artificial flavors and the artificial coloring and all of the pesticides and chemicals they're spraying over our food. You love that. That's not killing anybody. Don't worry about that. That's Big Pharma. Oh, Big Pharma and all the companies, let them keep pumping all those drugs into our bodies. That's fine. That's not killing us. But watch out for COVID. Watch out for COVID. All right?
Right.
You got it? That's what's going on.
It seems to be such a huge distraction of things that are extremely dangerous. And I want to get your thoughts on 5G. It's very interesting that 5G was rolled out in Wuhan and all across China. And it's getting very, very big. We don't hear a lot about it because communist China, their media is very, very controlled.
Unlike ours. Unlike ours. Yeah, try getting on the Cartoon News Network. You got to be a little boy born on third base and thought he had a home run like Chris Cuomo. Yeah. Or little Anderson Cooper. Yeah. Gloria Vanderbilt's boy. But anyway, go on. China's media being controlled.
Yeah, we
5G.
definitely, right, are definitely controlled. But, I think the thing of it is our media, even though they are essentially controlled as far as the information they put out, everyone around the world sees our media, sees what supposedly is happening. We rarely see what's happening in China. And I just want to get your thoughts, because I think it's very interesting that 5G is being rolled out right now across the world. Antennas are being put up everywhere, and out comes the coronavirus. So there was a big dispute against 5G a couple of months ago, and everybody was really focused upon it. Then when the coronavirus came out, it's not being talked about at all, but it is indeed being rolled out right now. So what are your thoughts on this?
We've been writing about it in the Trends Journal for years, since they've been doing it. And it's deadly. And you're right, there was protests against it. And they're going to keep doing what they want. And they're in control. And of course, people believe that, the 5G, the radio frequency radiations, are what caused so many people in Yunnan province to get it. And which may be true. I don't know. But I've seen studies and doctors talking about it, and I believe them. It's deadly. Brussels stopped it from happening. And by the way, you said there was a movement, and then the movement stopped. There was another movement going on. It was on the ballots in a number of states just before this pandemonium panic started. And that was not to force children to get vaccinated to go to schools. Yeah. And they were expected to defeat the people that demanded their children get vaccinated. But now that changed. And all the ballots, they voted for pro-vaccinations.
Wow. Yeah. It makes everyone so afraid that they're begging to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I won't get vaccinated. No way. No way, man. No way. Let little Cuomo come here and try to vaccinate me. Leave your little boys behind. Come here man to man. Try to vaccinate me.
Yeah. There's a petition that just came out a couple of days ago, and within a couple of days it had 1 million signatures to investigate the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So people are starting to question everything. Gerald, it leads me to my next question. It's an unprecedented phenomenon that mainstream media is now starting to talk about what was once considered conspiracy theories, just because this is what people are wanting to hear about. And on the other side of things, while people are petitioning for the Gates investigation and wanting to hear about the conspiracy theories, YouTube and other social media platforms that are supposed to be the voices of the people are now censoring and banning videos like crazy. And I want to get your perspective on this, because you can't even hardly say anything anymore, and your video is just, somehow deemed dangerous. And one other interesting point I want to make, because I want you to cover all of this, is the fact that this is AI. This is artificial intelligence. And I understand people are going to say, well, Michelle, it was programmed by people. Indeed, it was programmed by people. However, you have given very, very few people, all of us have given very, very few people the power to determine what human communication can be, what we can say and what we can hear. So I want you to go into this social media phenomenon.
Well, again, it's when I remember back in the early 90s when the whole internet revolution really began, and how everybody so supported it because it was going to give everybody the freedom to say what they wanted and do what they want, and how that's changed with the monopolies that have taken on it over. So you mentioned before about China and their censorship. And I said, all you have to do is look at America, and you just made the point with it. Facebook, if you want to have a rally to protest, the lockdown, you can't do it on Facebook. They're banning it. You can't talk about vaccinations. You're banned. Again, it was the cover of our Trends Journal. The Chinese way, you must obey. It's a takeover. It's right in front of everybody's eyes. And Michelle, it's really also, we talked before about how the people at the bottom, people in poverty, are going to be hit. What this is also going to do with the scum that you have running the political show, they're going to, as the data is already proving, give most of the money to the bigs. So the mom and pops are going to go out of business and the bigs are going to get bigger. The bigs are going to get bigger. The multinationals will become bigger. Everybody else will be out. Be out. Be out, be out, be out, be out. One of the reasons is that they can't bounce back. Let's take the restaurant business. Even in the best of times, it's a tough business. Margins are so thin. How many aren't going to open up again? Now they're putting all these regulations on what you have to do. So the bigs are going to be the ones that are going to survive. And they're run by the mafia, the Democrats and the Republicans, the political criminals, the murderers and thieves. And I don't use those words, in a way that, I'm exaggerating. How many more wars do they have to start based on lies? How many more millions of people do they have to kill? And trillions of dollars do they have to steal from us? And as for the thieves, how about too big to fail? That's not capitalism. It's socialism for the rich, and they're doing the same thing now. Yeah, the New York Fed, the Federal Reserve, buying corporate junk bonds. But hey, Michelle, we don't care about you. We don't care about anybody that you know if they don't have a lot of money. We're going to buy junk bonds from corporations, hedge funds. We're going to buy their stuff up that they gamble to become bigger. But you could go to hell. And by the way, that's who we have running us. The people from hell. And I don't say that, I do say it as a warrior for the Prince of Peace, because I'll fight for peace, I won't die for war. I mentioned that low-life piece of criminal crap, George W. Bush. Again, another boy born on third base and thought he hit a home run. He'd be nobody if Daddy wasn't there before him, and Prescott Grandpa wasn't there before him, and on and on. As they're quoting him, he says as they're repeating it, his quotes about how we are all here under the guidance of God. So what the hell God you talking about?
Yeah.
Satan? You started a war based on lies and killed millions of people, and you're quoting God? And these little low-life prostitutes, these media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and their government whoremasters repeat your language without criticizing you for it? So that's what we are. We're being run by people that love murder and war. And they call it God.
That's a good point. What God are you speaking of?
Yeah, not my God.
Right.
And by the way, I don't believe in God in the established religions, just to make that clear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, I suffered through Catholic school. I have a perforated eardrum from the nun beating me up in the 5th grade. Yeah, no, it was not, no. And then leaving me back. And I was a great water skier as a kid, 10 years old. I could no longer get my ears wet for the rest of my life.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, yeah, no. It was very, 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 that's why I'm a close combat practitioner these days. But as bad as it was, I'm just thankful that Father Foley was a ladies' man. It could have been a lot worse.
What do you mean? What does that
what
mean?
the Catholic priests are doing to all the boys.
Oh, God, Gerald. Okay. Yeah, it's
yeah. So when I talk about God, I'm not talking about the BS that these other clowns made up.
Right. We're talking about our creator,
the higher order,
nature. You know, the creator of nature. This is what scares me, Gerald. This AI, this artificial intelligence. You know, we're seeing these people who are creating these robots. Oh, they're geniuses. They're wonderful. Look at these artificial humans. Look at this artificial everything. No, artificial intelligence to copy nature, God, the birds, the flowers, everything you see, the earth, the sky, people, the way we can heal ourselves, if we have a cut, lions, tigers, everything you see around us, the nature, that is supreme intelligence. This artificial intelligence, when you say, what God do you pray to? Artificial intelligence to me is very scary. I see it as the Antichrist. People talk about the Antichrist is coming, the Antichrist. I think the building of artificial intelligence and these robots that can, I saw, just to divert a second, I saw a video where the builder of the robots said that the beauty of the robots is that once one robot learns something, all of them know it. I was like, the beauty of that. So once one learns your secrets, learns how to build a bomb or whatever, all that intelligence goes up into the quote unquote cloud. And if you have 1,000 robots, then they automatically know that. Whereas humans, how fast can we get the word out, especially if they're controlling us? Talk about AI. What are your thoughts, Gerald?
Go back to our 2019 top trends. One of them was the geeks shall inherit the earth. And we went on to say that the King James Bible made it up. They got it wrong. It's not the meek shall inherit the earth. The geeks have inherited the earth. Look at these people. Let's go back to COVID, tie it all together. They were the first ones that started selling fear and hysteria up in Silicon Valley. Alphabet, Microsoft, Apple, they were the first ones. Twitter, they were the first ones closing down and telling people to work from home. They were the first ones that put in the lockdown up there. How many people died up in San Francisco in that area? I think at this time, probably about 20. Look at these little boys. Look at your little Zuckerberg, whatever it is, little jerk. Look at them. These aren't men. They're geeks. They're freaks. That's their lives. You really nailed it when you said that's what they call beauty. Look at them. Where they go from a Jobs with a black shirt to a Zuckerberg with a blue t-shirt. Cook. Look at them. They destroyed us. Artificial intelligence is as wonderful as artificial flavors. It's artificial. All it is a controlling force. And you can see how easy the people are controlled. Just like that. Look at the polls. Most people believe in this lockdown. Look at, again, go back. Again, that low-life garbage piece of murderous crap, George W. Bush. His popularity rating, people forget this. We were in a recession. The dot-com bust happened in March of 2000. 9/11, right? April, May, June, July, August, September. 2001. Bush's popularity rating right after he got elected was going under 50%. After 9/11, it went to 90%. That's how stupid the people are. So artificial intelligence, it's a takeover. And again, they're the ones, the Silicon Valley cons are the ones that started promoting all of this fear and hysteria of the COVID virus.
Isn't that interesting? And they're the ones that are controlling what we can say and what we can hear.
Yep.
And people don't
These
realize that little group of people.
Yep.
And it's very interesting. Bill Gates is the head of that. And Microsoft is talking about, the tattoos that you'll get when you get the vaccination, and they're making it
That's
so
right.
cool. They're going to bring in all the celebrities. You're right. People are so easily led by the notion of, I'm going to look cool to everyone around me, rather than thinking about their life, and even the birds outside. They say that this 5G,
Oh,
where it's predominant, birds fall out of the sky. They die,
yep.
because they're being inundated with
Yeah.
these waves. It's incredible what's going on. So I kind of see this COVID. You started off by saying this COVID 19 it diverts attention from what's
Yeah, from
really
how they're
going
killing us.
on.
Exactly.
And I think it's so important for anyone that loves the birds that sit out even in your bird feeder. Look at your life around you. We've got to start to stand up. We've got to start to open our eyes to what's really happening and start to take our power back.
Absolutely. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams, and women. Yeah, so that's it. It doesn't take a lot of us. Because here's the deal. All these little lowlives that I talked about, they're not men. They're not fighters. You go up against them, they go down. Enough people stand up, they go down. And I say this, by the way, from experience. At 25 years old, I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. I was the chief government affairs specialist for a major segment of the chemical industry at the height of the environmental movement, killing environmental legislation. I was growing up, it takes a while to grow up. I was staying at the Willard Hotel, putting my meetings on at the Hay Adams. I have photos of me and Ronald Reagan. I was with him for an hour and a half one time at 30 years old. And I've been with prime ministers and princes. I know what the deal looks like. There's no fight. Once you fight against them, they go down. And I don't mean violently fighting, not at all. I mean fighting for our rights and freedom. Standing up. And that's all it takes. When enough of us unite for that, they go down. And we better do it now because, as I said, history is repeating itself. Currency wars, trade wars, Great Depression, World War II. Currency war, trade war, Greatest Depression, World War III. If we don't fight for freedom now, we're going to die for war. I'm a trend forecaster. I don't brag about my track record, but I'll put it up against anybody in the world. I have the books, Trends 2000, Trend Tracking, Far Better Than Megatrends. The Trends Journal, I've been writing it since 1991. So if anybody could come with information that can match mine, step right up. My work is to be a visionary, to look ahead, to see how the current events are forming future trends. And the current events forming future trends now are World War III. Because these same sickos that, again, get us into war with no exit strategy, have us into the COVID war with no exit strategy. And you were talking before, about crime in different ways. You're going to see crime levels escalate in ways we can't imagine. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. When people go back to work, they're going to steal whatever they can. Already, restaurants are closed, people breaking in, stealing their booze. People who do anything when you're going down. And the harder they go down, the bigger the militarized police states are going to clamp down. And that's when it's going to explode. Not only here, but around the world.
Wow. Yeah, so you think that's the form that World War III will take? Will be the
Oh,
fact?
yeah. Yeah, you start seeing civil wars, civil eruptions, and the government clamping down. And then they'll make up an excuse. We got to stop that over there. If we don't, I want to get rid of that guy, Gaddafi. I don't like him. I want him out of there. I don't like the way he's treating his people. Oh, who said that? Oh, yeah, the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama. I don't like that guy, Assad. I want him out of there. I don't like what he's doing to his people. They'll make up an excuse. You're seeing already with Trump, doing it with Maduro in Venezuela, with Iran. When all else fails, they take it to war.
That's what's so scary about the fact that we're not noticing that there's a much larger group of people than what are on the internet debating whether or not we should open back up the country. All these people who are sitting home in their cushy houses saying, oh, if we open back up the country, people are going to die. You're murderers to do that when 50,000 people have died, and yet they're killing off millions of people simply because they can't work. They don't have any medicine for food. The jobs that they did have are being eliminated. And you were discussing before about the police and the way they brutalize people. I watched a video of a tattoo parlor gentleman. He said, I'm going to open my tattoo parlor. I've got to, feed my family. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to find a way to do this. He opened up his little tattoo parlor. And then there's video of this same gentleman. The police arrived. I think it was because he put it on YouTube that he was opening up his tattoo parlor, so he brought attention to himself. The police arrive, shut him down in a very brutal way.
Yep.
We've seen women.
Tough guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough little boys, the little bullies,
There was a bully police officer, and I love police officers. I think when you're at 3 a.m. and you hear a noise and somebody's breaking in your house, you need somebody coming if you call 911. But what I'm saying is we've got to find a way to mediate this and to bring everybody to their senses. She let her little girl go next door to play with the kid next door, and the police came, and man, did he really went at her, and do you know what you're doing, this kind of thing. And this was a mother at home. She had her baby. She's holding her baby, and her 5-year-old is, the problem. And these interesting. The police that are talking to you about social distancing and what you're not supposed to be doing are not wearing masks.
Yep.
They're not wearing. They're right next to you. They're not doing the social distancing themselves, which is an interesting point.
Well, they're hypocrites. That's what I said. They bust your chops for having a drink. You're 0.001 over the limit. They arrest you. Well, these clowns go out and get plastered all the time, but they don't have to worry about getting busted. So that's why they don't wear. Again, I'm up in here in Kingston, New York. The police up here are great. They don't break your chops for little stuff. But then you take a ride over here on Route 28, and you got these state troopers, 5 cars within 6 miles. You went, 6 miles over the speed limit. So they're different all over the place. Look at the woman that they arrested. What was it, Idaho? Where she was playing with her kids in the park, and they handcuffed her, took her away, and left the kids in the park. Look at the one that happened in New York with the guy with the plainclothesman with no mask on, beating the hell out of this guy for not social distancing.
Right. That's where I watch videos. I say, don't people see what I see? They're like, oh, well, you had to do it. He had to take care of the fact that, the guy wasn't social distancing. He's beating him up without a mask. He's not social distancing. So this is just a power play to some people. Again, I want to reiterate, I love the police. I love the people that protect us, our firefighters, our police officers. But we have a certain responsibility to make sure that everyone is safe from people that might take their power too far. They misuse their power, use this as an excuse.
As I said, the police up here are terrific. When I launched Occupy Peace up here in 2015, closed down the streets, not a police officer around. They could care less.
Right.
You know, so they're great here, but again, but you get the state troopers, these, you know, they're power hungry. And by the way, they got to keep getting the tickets so they could keep their jobs. You know, they got to keep money coming in.
Right, right. The philosophy of that. Gerald, let's turn to politics real quick. I know that you are not a big fan of President Trump, but I want to talk about Mr. Biden for a moment because it seems like I want to explore the Democratic ticket. It seems like every time he goes to say anything, Gerald, he doesn't know where he is, what he's running for, who he's talking to. What's happening with this gentleman? He talks about he's running for Senate. Then he talks about he can't remember Obama's name. He gets on a live interview and he's incoherent. You know, I'm not the sharp stack in the box, but I'm coherent. I know where I'm at. And I'm not running for president. So how is the Democratic Party putting a gentleman up who can't have a live interview, it seems, for the past year without having a torrent of people making fun of him?
Well, I disagree with you when you called him a gentleman.
Oh, okay.
He's a piece of garbage. He's a murderous little freak. Never worked a day in his life. He's sucking off the political you-know-what. And we said, oh, I don't like any of them. The only politician that I ever respected that was in office basically was Ron Paul. Other than that, you know, I don't agree with everything of it, but I agree with a lot of it. You know, I'm a political atheist, as I said. I just look at the facts. One of our top trends for 2020, and again, this is before this happened, that we put them out in early December. So this is December 2019, was Trump 2020 by default. And we said it was the fault of the Democrats. Hey, look at the dopes they have. Look at the freak show it is. We own the trademark, the presidential reality show. That's all this is. It's a made-for-TV reality show. How can anybody with a brain bigger than a pea look up to a Nancy Pelosi, a Dianne Not-So-Feinstein, a little Lindsey Graham, a moron Mitch McConnell, a clowny Chucky Schumer? How could a gruesome Newsom? How could any respectful person look up to these people? So that's all you're doing is they're picking clowns, liars, freaks, and fools from the club. That's all it is.
That's amazing. It's just amazing. I mean, because we have a country full of very cool people, very cool, intelligent, dynamic, sharp people. And yet, you know, our only choice on the Democratic side, it appears, is going to be Mr. Biden. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because he just, you know.
He's a low-life piece of crap.
Yeah. And the allegations that are coming out about his past behavior, too, is extraordinary.
Well, again, you know, that's who they are.
Yeah.
Look up, I tell people, Google up the definition. Go to Google, put definition of politician. Someone that runs for political office, blah, blah, blah. A person that's manipulative and devious, typically to gain advancement within an organization. That's the definition. Politics, right? Many ticks sucking the blood out of you.
Right. Plain politics. Gerald, I want to get your thoughts as far as you are such a great caller of the new trends. What could be some of the best things that could come out on the other side of this?
Well, on a business level and beyond it, I would say that they're closing down schools and they have more interactive education. One of my top trends in my book, Trends 2000, which was also a bestseller, and then I wrote that and came out in 1996, was Interactive U, meaning interactive university. The education system we have was invented by the Germans, the Prussians, at the beginning of the industrial age, to get people, they were making their own things individually. Now they put them in centralized locations, taught them how to read, write, do math, and follow orders. That is the system we have. How ignorant could it be? The general diplomas we used to have in New York, academic diplomas. You go to, everybody has to take the same stuff. With interactive education, serves two great purposes. You can use the benefits, for example, of artificial intelligence in some aspects to find out in doing tests of what a person is most passionate about and what they have the most skills in. Maybe something like that would work. And then you design a curriculum for them. And they don't have to go out and get that curriculum. They could learn it from the best teachers and professors around the world, rather than somebody that passes a state test to teach you. Number two, we won't have to pay all these moronic school taxes that we're paying. We could bring the schools way down. So if you're going to go for laboratories and this and that, yeah, then we could use a school system for that. So that's what I see as a great benefit. Because our school system stinks. We don't even win place or show with Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development countries when it comes to education. And we pay the most of any of them. Number two, talking about education and how stupid, moronic it is, and how we have imbeciles leading us. Before your time, when I was a youth, they used to have us hiding under desks for an air raid drill in case an atom bomb went off. It used to scare the hell out of us. And then when we got too big to hide under desks in high school, they had us standing against the wall with our hands like this and telling us that if you see a flash, don't look at it. If an atom bomb goes off and I see a flash, I'll be dust in about a second and a half. Hiding under a desk is not going to do anything to save my life. These, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, in the greatest freak show on earth, are the ones giving you orders like that little clown you got over there can't go on the beach, Newsom, of social distancing. You ready for this, Michelle? You're going to catch that cough now. It just went into that camera, through the airwaves, and right into you, and now you got COVID. These are the same morons that are giving us all these laws, putting plexiglass over here while it's open over there, social distance here, putting circles on the ground. These are the same stupid damn imbeciles that had us doing air raid drills for an atom bomb and having us hide on the desks and scaring the shit out of us. And they did it to the people right now. They're in an air raid drill. Got it?
Gerald, in a nutshell, why are they doing this?
They're power-hungry freaks. Why do they take you to war? Why do they run for office? Hey, don't ask me. Ask that guy, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces. Oh, you know, the one with his farewell address warning the people that the military-industrial complex was robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists and the sweat of the laborers. The man who hated war because he saw it. Oh, that general, yeah, that president. He said anyone that runs for office is either an egomaniac or crazy. All right?
Gerald, it is always amazing to have you on this show. Please tell everyone how they can follow your work and about Trends Journal.
Oh, the Trends Journal is a weekly magazine. There's no other magazine like it. And again, I say that, show me one like it. We tell you what's going on, what it means, and what's next. We're giving you tomorrow's news today, history before it happens. And we help prepare you for the future. We give trend forecasts, strategic analysis, considerations. The motto of the Trends Journal is think for yourself. We put down the facts. We tell you where we think it's going. And it's 29 cents a day. It's a weekly. And, you know, we're talking about, what, $10 a month? You know, nothing. So, again, if you want to see the future and prepare for it, trendsjournal.com. It's history before it happens.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You cover all of these subjects we talked about. You cover everything, hundreds of topics, which is it's a fascinating place. Thank you so much for coming back on the show today.
Oh, lovely being on with you. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gerald Celente, expert economic trends forecaster and the founder of trendsjournal.com. For the Industry Experts Panel, I'm Michelle Holliday at portfoliowealthglobal.com.